Have you ever felt trapped by your own personality? Like you're an anxious person who wishes they could be more confident, or an introvert who envies those who effortlessly work a room? If so, you're not alone. Most of us have been taught that personality is fixed, something we're born with and stuck with for life. But what if I told you that science now shows this simply isn't true? Today, we're diving into Olga Khazan's groundbreaking book, Me, But Better: The Science and Promise of Personality Change. This isn't your typical self-help book filled with empty promises and feel-good platitudes. Instead, it's a fascinating blend of rigorous scientific journalism and deeply personal experimentation that could change how you think about yourself and your potential for growth. Olga Khazan is a staff writer for The Atlantic who specializes in health, social science, and psychology. As a Russian immigrant who grew up feeling like an outsider, she intimately understood what it meant to feel different, anxious, and limited by her own personality traits. For years, she struggled with high levels of neuroticism, meaning she was prone to anxiety, worry, and negative emotions. She was also highly introverted, often declining social invitations and feeling drained by interactions with others. The breaking point came during a trip to Miami when a series of unfortunate events, a terrible haircut, traffic jams, and a jammed shopping cart, triggered an emotional meltdown that made her realize she was missing out on life's joys. She recognized that her personality traits were acting like a filter that dimmed her experience of the world, and she decided to do something radical: deliberately change her personality. What makes Kazan's approach unique is that she didn't just read about personality change or interview experts. She made herself the primary case study, embarking on a year-long experiment to transform herself from an anxious skeptic into a bright optimist. She tried everything from meditation and improv classes to sailing and using friendship apps. But here's the key: every single intervention she tried was grounded in solid psychological research. The foundation of her experiment rests on the Big Five personality model, the most widely accepted framework in modern psychology. These 5 traits spell out the acronym OCEAN: openness to experience, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. Think of these as the fundamental dimensions that describe how we think, feel, and behave. Kazan focused primarily on 3 of these traits. She wanted to increase her extroversion, reduce her neuroticism, and improve her agreeableness. What she discovered through her year of experimentation aligns with cutting-edge research. Personality is far more malleable than we've been led to believe. The central strategy that guided her transformation was fake it till you make it. This might sound simplistic, but there's profound psychological truth behind it. As psychologist Jerome Bruner observed, you're more likely to act yourself into feeling than feel yourself into action. In other words, if you want to become more confident, start by acting confident, even if it feels awkward at first. If you want to be more social, start accepting invitations and initiating conversations, even if your introvert brain is screaming at you to stay home. This approach works because of a fundamental principle: our behaviors shape our thoughts and feelings just as much as our thoughts and feelings shape our behaviors. When Kazan forced herself to attend improv classes, despite her terror of being the center of attention, something remarkable happened. The yes and rule of improvisation, where you accept whatever your scene partner offers and build on it, gradually trained her brain to be more spontaneous, collaborative, and open to possibilities. What initially felt like torture eventually became enjoyable. The same principle applied to her efforts to reduce anxiety and negative thinking. Instead of waiting to feel less anxious before putting herself out there, she deliberately exposed herself to anxiety-provoking situations. She wore her shirt inside out in public, asked strangers for discounts, and even lay down on a sidewalk, all to prove to her brain that social embarrassment wouldn't kill her. These exposure exercises, borrowed from cognitive behavioral therapy, gradually reduced her social anxiety and increased her confidence. But personality change isn't just about willpower and forcing yourself to act differently. Kazan discovered that the right mindset is crucial. You have to believe that change is possible. Psychologist Carol Dweck's research on growth mindset shows that when people believe they can become more empathetic, they actually do become more empathetic. This belief becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy that drives the actions necessary for change. The science backing up personality change is compelling. While genetics account for about half of our personality traits, the other half is influenced by our environment, relationships, career, where we live, and the roles we take on in life. Recent studies show that meaningful personality change can occur in relatively short periods, sometimes just a matter of weeks or months, and these changes tend to be lasting. However, Kazan learned that personality change is like physical fitness. It requires ongoing maintenance. While shifts in mindset and worldview tend to stick, the behavioral benefits require continued practice. She compares it to exercise. You can't work out intensively for 6 months, then stop and expect to maintain your fitness level indefinitely. One of the most important insights from Kazan's journey is that personality change doesn't mean abandoning who you are. She didn't stop being an introvert or lose her identity as someone who thinks deeply and values solitude. Instead, she learned to add new behavioral repertoires to her toolkit. She became someone who could access her introverted strengths when they served her and tap into extrovert behaviors when the situation called for it. This connects to the free trait theory developed by psychologist Brian Little, which suggests that we can act out of character when it serves our core values and important goals. An introvert can deliver a passionate public speech if the cause matters deeply to them. A naturally disorganized person can become incredibly systematic when working on a project they care about. Kazan's experience also highlights the importance of major life events in personality change. During her experiment, she became pregnant and had a child. This life transition naturally amplified her motivation to change certain aspects of her personality. Becoming a mother made her more motivated to set boundaries with family members, to become less critical of her husband, and to model emotional regulation for her child. Research consistently shows that major life transitions like marriage, parenthood, career changes, or even traumatic events can serve as catalysts for personality change. So what can we learn from Kazan's journey that we can apply to our own lives? First, start with self-awareness. Take an honest look at which aspects of your personality serve you well and which might be holding you back. Maybe you're so agreeable that you struggle to set boundaries. Or perhaps your perfectionism is creating unnecessary stress and preventing you from taking risks. Next, identify specific behaviors associated with the traits you want to develop. If you want to be more extrovert, commit to saying yes to social invitations you would normally decline. Join a club, take a class, or use apps to meet new people. If you want to reduce anxiety, practice mindfulness meditation, keep a gratitude journal, or gradually expose yourself to situations that make you uncomfortable. The key is to start small and be consistent. Kazan emphasizes that the biggest reason people fail at habit formation is setting the initial bar too high. Instead of committing to meditate for an hour every day, start with just 5 minutes. Instead of promising to attend every social event, begin by accepting one invitation per week. Also, consider the power of community. Kazan found that activities with built-in accountability, like regularly scheduled classes or clubs that are difficult to cancel, were more effective than solo efforts. There's something powerful about showing up for others that can carry you through moments when your motivation wavers. Perhaps most importantly, embrace the mindset that you are not fixed. Your personality is not your destiny. The anxious teenager can become a confident adult. The socially awkward college student can develop into someone who enjoys connecting with others. The chronically disorganized person can learn systems and habits that bring order to their life. This doesn't mean personality change is easy or that everyone can transform into whoever they want to be. Some traits are more malleable than others. Neuroticism and extroversion tend to be more changeable, while agreeableness and openness to experience can be more stubborn. And genetics do matter. But within those constraints, there's often much more room for growth and change than we realize. Kazan's story is ultimately one of hope and agency. She discovered that we don't have to be prisoners of our personalities. Instead, we can view our personality traits as tools in a toolkit, consciously choosing which ones to emphasize in different situations and working to develop new ones when they would serve us better. The ripple effects of personality change can be profound. As Khazan became more socially confident and less anxious, her relationships improved, her career opportunities expanded, and her overall life satisfaction increased. She didn't become a different person. She became a better version of herself, one who was better equipped to create the life she wanted. me, but better, reminds us that while we may not have complete control over our circumstances, we have far more control over ourselves than we might think. Through intentional action, persistence, and the right strategies, we can shape not just what we do, but who we are. And that might be one of the most empowering realizations we can have. The question isn't whether you can change. The question is, what version of yourself do you want to become, and what are you willing to do to get there? Your personality isn't your prison. It's your raw material. And with the right approach, you can sculpt it into something beautiful.